Hello, 295 subscribers. Today we're going to discuss how you can connect Airtable to Voiceflow to create advanced AI text-based solutions. Both of these apps are no-code, but in order to connect them together, you do need to use either API calls or webhooks. But don't worry, I'll provide you all the snippets, all the templates, so that you can copy and paste it to your project. Airtable, they position themselves right now as a no-code app builder because of their interfaces, but you can think about it as an app to build databases. Voiceflow is, I do believe, the best on the market no and low code text-based solution to build text-based AI agents and apps. So this is what we use for 90, maybe 80% of all the projects that we do inside our agency. First, this is how and why would you use Airtable with Voiceflow. Again, you can create probably hundreds and thousands of different scenarios yourself, but for storing user data, for scheduling appointments, obviously the appointments themselves will be scheduled inside the chatbot. But then, in order to store this information and reference it further, you can store it in Airtable. As a CRM for my agency, I use Airtable as the primary CRM instead of something like Go High Level or Pipedrive or HubSpot. Feedback collection, temporary databases. Again, these are just examples on how Airtable can be utilized. The problem is that currently Airtable and Voiceflow don't have the native integration, so we need to find workarounds. And there are two primary ones. The first one is to use Make. I guess you know what the Make is the software to connect apps together using no and low code things, or the custom API calls to Airtable. Again, guys, don't worry. I am not a technical person myself, right? So all of the things that I built in on this channel are no or low code. And if I need help, I ask AI like Claude or ChatGPT for some guidelines. This is what you can do, but I'll give you everything so that you don't need to worry about it. Basically, when we have a need inside our chatbot, which is built on Voiceflow, to call the, let's say, Airtable, instead of going directly, because we don't have this ability, we're using the API call block inside Airtable. So this is the temporary project, not temporary, just the sample project. And we have here in dev API call block. So the idea of this block is that we can send an external request to an external app. So we can either create a scenario on Make, and then here I will guide you through everything, and we'll create a sample request a bit later. But the idea is that we can create a scenario in Make and then call this scenario from this block using a webhook, right? Or we can actually call directly the Airtable APIs. And Airtable API docs, they have great docs. And obviously, again, we're probably not developers, so we usually don't know how to navigate inside this documentation. But what you can do, just copy it and paste it into the Claude, and it will help you with everything. Now, I will show you how both of these works and all other things. When we do, let's say call the webhook inside Make, Make basically connects to Airtable, then retrieve, we can add like another block here, so through here, so it return a response, and then we can use this response in Voiceflow. Same thing happening when we are calling custom APIs, and like the when we are doing not the API call and not the webhook call for the Make. Okay. So this is, as I already mentioned, just a prototype. It has just one flow. This is, from one of my previous demo projects for this channel. This is just a loop when we can say, hi, how are you? And it will loop us inside this thing. But when we are actually in need to call the Airtable, these are three kind of things, three types of scenarios that we can use. Again, Right now, my goal is to provide you the overview on what you can do and how you can go about it. I'm not gonna, provide you the exact solution. You have, 50 videos on my channel, and you can go to my resource hub, which is free, copy any templates and use it. But I want you to understand how it works in simple terms. Again, I'm not technical, so I'm not one of your fancy YouTubers that will give you everything with graphics. I'm just like sharing how I view these things, right? Now, let's start with Make. So, for example, we have we added the API call here, and this is, how the block looks. First, we need to create a scenario in Make. So let's say that we want to create a new record in Airtable, right? And pass from the voice flow, we need to pass some information to Airtable. So first, we will create a webhook. This thing will receive information when we send this call, and will receive information from Voiceflow. So you can click add, actually turn my AC down. So, we can call it whatever. And this is the actual webhook. Click OK. And then you can, paste it here. So you can use post or get depending on the context, but let's use post. For the header, it's very important to put content type application JSON. Again, guys, please don't worry. This template will be in my resource hub. First link in the description. Just copy and paste it. So when we receive the data, the next step, let's say we do Airtable, and in the Airtable, we will upsert a record. For the Airtable, you can, I think you will figure it out how to navigate inside it. But basically, I created the simple base which we usually use on this channel as a reference. So, and I have two tables, one table called business partners, and there are a few fields. So what you need to understand about Airtable, so you have, this is, the name of the base. This is the name of the table. These things, the columns called fields. So the BP company name or email one is the field name. And you obviously have API. So you can go to integrations, account, or somewhere and find your API key. Okay, so here's what we are going to do. I already connected to my Airtable account, so you can just click add, create the new connection. Now we will choose the base. This is the demo toolway base. As you can see, this is the demo toolway. We will choose the table, and the table called business partners. So this is the table name. Now for the record ID, we don't need that. So this, each of this thing is a record basically. So if we are trying to update a record, we would need to specify what record we want to update. But in this case, we're just creating the new one. So let's, let's, like, this is basically the thing. And as you can see here, these are different fields. So if you do something here, it will create a new record with the email one with this value. Okay. Now, so let's create the scenario. So let's say that this will be the greeting for the user. So let's do the start here. So it will greeting the user, and okay, we can, like, let's simplify it. So we can just use the text. We'll delete this block, and let's say, hi, what is your email? Something like that. And then let's capture this reply into the email variable. And I think, yeah, so I have it here, but if you copy and paste like my template for the voice flow, you will also have it. But if you don't, you click just here, create the new variable, and done. So, Jesus, okay. So let's specify the variable email. So the email will be saved in the email variable. Now, then we will call this webhook. Now, we put the headers. We don't need any authorization. When we will discuss the Airtable, obviously you will need to provide your API key, but you don't need to provide any API key in like Make in this specific scenario, since this is just the webhook. But what you need to provide is the header type and the body. So in the body, you choose raw, and this is like the JSON. So like what information you pass to this webhook. So we can say maybe email. This will be the name of the parameter email, and we will pass the email variable. Now, when we click here, and let's say this is the email, or we can, let's say we choose like gmail@gmail.com. So, and when we click save, let's run it and let's test. So when we click generate, as you can see, it's 200. It means that it worked and it did receive this information. So this is the email that we received. And as you can see, it created a few records, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, give me 1 second. No, these are not the ones that these are the old ones. Okay, so let's just delete them. But obviously, maybe it did not. It shouldn't. Uh, Maybe it did because we didn't specify anything, right? So we didn't specify anything here. But now we can, when we have this information, what we can do, we can create a new record, and for the field email one, let's put this email. Yeah. Okay. And now we can save it. Basically, when we will send a request right now, we will create a new record on Airtable. Now, this is like, that's it, right? So that's it. It's that simple. Now, this is the tricky part. Usually, we want to receive some information from like this webhook. So let's check it out. Basically, when we test it, and let's send this thing. As you can see, it created a new record with my email, right? And it did run, but we did not get anything back, right? So we got the success message basically, but we didn't get back some information. Let's say when we create the record, we want to get back the record ID. So in order to do that, you need to add another webhook block, but right now it's a webhook response, right? Now, and this is the tricky part. So this is the body, basically the body of the webhook response. If you will just use the ID here, right? If you put the ID here and you save it, you run it, and then we test it again, it worked. And it seems that in the input, this is the information. Oh wait, so yeah, but we did not get anything back. The problem is that in order to get the information back to Voiceflow after the call, we need to use special formatting. And like in order to not like do it from scratch, so this is one of the scenarios. So I can just delete this one and copy it here. Again, guys, like I will have this, I will export this blueprint and will be in my resource hub, so you can just import it and you'll have everything. But the idea is that we are transforming this information into JSON first here, and then we are using this formatting, like this things response and then the JSON string from here, right? So if we save it and run right now, yeah, it's already created. It will create the third one. So if we resend it, now it basically created. It did the same thing, but if you pay attention here in the response, we got this record ID, right? Now, let's say that we want to use this record ID somewhere else inside Voiceflow. Maybe we will, we don't need to provide it to the user, but like again, you can create like thousands of scenarios and how to use it. Go watch any of my previous videos. So the important thing is that we need to save this information from the webhook response, right? Again, let's do this again. So this is the whole response, and this is the response key. So we can actually, just like save 200 or this to using a key. But like let's for this sake of this example, let's just save the response. So what we can do, we can enter the key response, and then we will save it in API. Let's say, sorry, let's save it in the create new. I should have this variable API. Anyways, API. Okay, so API. Now, so when we will call this webhook, we will save the record ID that we get from here into the API variable. So let's actually test it and output this specific variable API as a text. It will not work, and I'll explain you later why. So let's just test it now. We will save it and run. Now, what's your email? So let's say 123 at gmail.com. Now, as you can see, it did run this scenario and it did create the new record. But the problem is that, see, it's kind of weird. This is like one of the things with Voiceflow. You need to stringify the value. Like, I'm not gonna explain what this is and why you need this. Just remember that after each API call, you just need to stringify the value that you want to output. So basically, we have this set variable, and you can find it somewhere in the logic set here. So this is like you are, let's say we are setting the API, so same variable, and then we are using the JSON.string thing, and where is it? It's okay, so it's huge. We need to delete everything because I copied it from the previous thing and use the API here. So we are stringifying the API, like the value that we saved in the API variable from this call, right? We are stringifying this value. Okay, it was not saved. Jesus Christ. Okay, API. Yeah, so we are saving and then updating basically this variable. So we are like updating this variable based like stringifying this API thing. Like I hope you got it. Now, when we output the API, it should work if I didn't mess up anything. So when we run this test and we provide 3 to, whatever at gmail.com, now we are getting, yes, obviously we are not getting just the record ID since we're saving the whole thing, but again, like, you will figure this out, right? So you usually you don't want to output straight away what you get from the webhook. So how it's usually done, like in our solutions, is that we reference, so let's say we save something in the API variable from the API call, and then we are using this value and asking AI to provide the update to the user based on this value. And obviously, AI will understand that it doesn't need to output everything. It just needs to output this thing. Yeah, I think you got the idea, right? Okay, so this is how you go about like connecting Voiceflow with Airtable through make.com. Now, a bit more complex scenario. Let's say we want to connect Voiceflow, this chatbot, to Airtable, but without Make. Why would you do that? There are a few things why. First, it's a bit faster, but not a lot. So this is not the use case. We did have a one actual use case, and I actually showed it on one of my previous video where I was mentioned that we built an internal assistant for a wholesaler for their sales team, and we actually used the API calls without using Make. Yeah, sure, like you need to pay for Make, so this is kind of free, but I'm not sure if you're able to get the API keys from Airtable on the free plan. Maybe if you do, yeah, so this is like the free option. And again, maybe Make has the free account. Like, guys, like, go work on McDonald's and save something for paying to pay for the Make. Okay, so let's say that we want to get and search for something, for an information inside our Airtable. Again, you can use the same thing. So like instead of creating a new record, we, let's say this is the actual user email from like one of these emails, and instead of like upsert the record, you would use something like get a search record, get a record, or whatever to search for a record, and then here you will output all the information about this record. But let's say in this case, like you can use, like you can create any scenario inside Make, but let's say that we want to use just the straight API call. Now, same thing, we're capturing the email, but now instead of calling the API, like instead of calling the webhook, we are calling the API of Airtable. Guys, I am not going to explain what this means, right? This is basically an endpoint, and we are to this endpoint, we are like adding a filter to right away search for record. So let's say like this is the like it will search for the um okay, so let me go back. Yeah, so it will, let's say we provide the email here, and it will search for this email on email one, so on the, in here, right? But this filter is already applied in the endpoint. Again, if you have no idea what this means, copy, Control C, right? You go to Claude and say, "Hey, I am trying to make API call from Voiceflow to Airtable, and I have endpoint. Can you explain what it means?" Something like that, guys. Okay, it will provide you probably the perfect answer. Let's see. Instead, trying to here's what each step means, right? So the formula indicates that you're applying the filter in the query using the Airtable formula syntax. And now you can ask, okay, so can you create me a similar thing, but for the, to search for something else? Now, don't be stupid and pay attention to what I'm going to say. You need to change here. Where is it? Here. Basically, first, this is my API key. So you need to change it here. Like, don't use it. I'll delete it after this video. But basically, you will use your API key, and you will use your base ID and the field names and the table name. Again, in order to do that, so just copy this. I'm not even sure, like I think this is that base ID, but you can just copy it and ask this, like this is the link from of my Airtable base. What is my ID? And it will tell you, right? And like this is the name, so you provide it, and it will create the brand new thing for yourself. Now, and that's it, right? So since we are embedding a filter basically in the endpoint, so like it's done, right? And we are just providing the authorization in the header, and we are capturing the response. So let's actually test. So if we click send task, let's like choose this email, and let's put it here because this is the variable, so that's why it's asking before we submit the test. So if we generate, as you can see, it found Nusher Insurance. This is the thing, right? So it found this record, and it will provide all the information here. So this is all the information here. And now, if you remember from the previous step, you can just put the records here as the key and save it in the, let's save it in the same variable, API. Again, in order to do that, so like I could just, and we can do that, we can do that. We actually don't need any of this. So if we run this scenario now, and let's choose another one. Let's choose like this one. So if we paste this, see how fast it was? And this is all the information about this company. And now you can ask AI, please analyze, like using the like set AI maybe step. and AI, please analyze all the data that I got from the API call and output the like whatever, like the phone number, and then save this phone number in the variable. I know that technical guys will tell you, yes, you can obviously, you can use the expressions, and you can actually add JavaScript to to filter this thing without the need of using the AA block. But again, depends on you. I'm just showing the easiest scenario. Now, the last thing. Kind of similar, but instead of searching for something, let's put something in Airtable. Like similar thing that we did in Make, but in Make we actually created a new record. So here, I think we'll also create a new record, or yeah, so it will create a new record. So basically now it will have the endpoint, and this is like the actual endpoint without any filters, because we just need to filter like the reference this base, right? Again, and as you can see here, this is the business partners, this is the business partners, so you would need to provide your table name. So, and same authorization. Now for the content type, we need to provide the application JSON, since we are, providing the value and not just retrieving. And now in the body, in the raw, so if you remember in Make, so it's kind of similar, right? So it does look similar. But in the, so we are like saying, okay, so we need in the records and in the fields, we need to find the, so we need to find in the, like, basically we are searching for an email one field and pasting a new record of this email, right? Similar thing that we did with Make. So now, if you will run this scenario, and let's say, as you can see here, Eugene is the best YouTuber in the world at gmail.com, something like that. So it should create a new record here. Sorry, yeah, but it already did. Yeah, so it already did, but I forgot obviously to output something. So yeah, and let's say if we, if we test it here, like abracadabra at gmail.com. So in the output, we are actually like similar thing, right? So similar thing as we did it with Make. So guys, like I would suggest you, if you just want to use the Airtable, maybe use the direct API calls. But like if you need some additional steps, right? So let's say you want to insert the record, then you want to create a meeting, then you want to search for like another app, then you want to, send the email. So this is obviously why Make is very important here. But if you're just using the Airtable, it's better, it's more stable, obviously, to, since it's direct access, and like just get the API documentation for Airtable uploaded to like Claude. We usually use right now Claude. I have in my team, I have the developer guys, so they like obviously build this whole thing. But for my YouTube channel, I build everything myself, so I use like right now Claude. Again, all these things like this voice flow template that will be in my resource hub. This is my resource hub, so you will have it. And the scenario in obviously the blueprint in Make. Okay guys, thanks for watching this video. Give me a sub please. I'm trying to get to 1 million by the end of the year. Okay, thanks for watching.